Well, good afternoon and welcome to this month's QM podcast episode. I'm delighted to welcome Jennie Stoddart-Scott. And Jennie, you yourself were an OM, Old Margaretian, back in
93 to 2000, exactly.
And now you've come full circle and we're delighted to have you on our board of governors and particularly using your expertise on our External Relations Committee. So lovely to have you back. And I suppose as a starting point, what are your strongest memories of your time at QM?
Gosh, starting was... it's always quite a powerful memory, I suppose, when you go to boarding school. In those days, most of us did full boarding. Was actually a joy. I'd been bullied at my primary school. And so to come somewhere where instantly I felt like I belonged, you're straight into the cut and thrust of life here. And I loved it. I think it was just a relief to belong. My overriding memories of school, some amazing teachers, but really my friends from QM who remain some of my closest friends today. And I have such a fondness really for my whole year group, even those who I'm less in touch with. Sadly, we missed our 20-year reunion because it fell in 2020. So I must rearrange that.
Well, what any particular memories that you have that have stuck with you?
Oh, gosh. That first day, watching the car drive away down the drive is always going to be quite a powerful one. And as we move through the years, just so many things. Sport was a great love. So lots of matches. And I think one of my proudest moments probably was being made captain of hockey, having been told when I was sort of 15, if I was lucky, I'd make the second 11. Just lots and lots of, I guess, the small things about life that together make up a life here. 7 years, a million years of great moments.
And here we are in Cloaks Corridor, actually, which is one of the traditions of the school. Were you wearing cloaks in your day, or are they already passed at that time?
Yeah, my sister Annabelle, who started 2 years before me, they had to put them on to go to church and write Sunday letters. Things have relaxed a bit. I think we were supposed to put them on for ceremonial moments. I honestly can't remember doing anything other than hanging it up here at the beginning of term and then taking it home at the end of term and probably doing some sort of fancy dress thing in them.
So there are some traditions that have gone and others that have stayed, and the importance of sports you've just mentioned there absolutely stays with you. And where did your life pathway take you after QM?
So I went straight from here to Edinburgh University to read French and Spanish. I then, in my final year, was persuaded by a flatmate to go to a Teach First roadshow. I applied and got a place, and I remember just being totally underwhelmed when I got the phone call saying I got a place. So happily for children of a certain generation, I didn't take up the place because I'd have made a terrible teacher. And I'd done some work experience in PR and enjoyed it. So I started applying for grad schemes and managed to get a place. And I've been working in PR for the last 20 years.
And if you were speaking to some of our sixth form students at the moment, considering a career in PR, what would you say to them?
So there are PR degrees, and I've come across some brilliant people who've done them. But my view would be study what you love if you're going down that route. I don't think I'd narrow yourself off by doing a vocational degree unless you're absolutely sure. The main thing to do is get lots of work experience. And, there's arguments for and against going to uni. I think follow what you're interested in, but it can be really competitive and you need to show that you're interested rather than saying you're interested. And the only way to do that is to immerse yourself either through a series of work experience placements or really reading around, following people on socials and keeping up to date with what the industry's doing.
And thinking about independent schools more generally, we're facing a few headwinds at the moment. From a PR perspective, what would you be advising schools and how should they best navigate any headwinds and challenges at different times?
Yeah, it's obviously a particularly difficult time for schools and businesses in general at the moment. And I think when times are tough, communication is almost at its most important. I think being really clear and as transparent as you can be. Obviously, there are lots of unknowns. I think being timely in your communication is really important. And I think the other thing is, any good business, whatever sector they're in, will have a clear North Star and a strategy for getting there. So framing the way you approach these challenges within that broader context so that you are always forward-looking and not just being reactive, I guess.
Absolutely. Future focused, outward looking, as well as inward looking.
Of course, yeah.
And actually that kind of brings me on to another aspect of work that we've been doing, and you've been bringing your expertise and insights to. We've been looking at our values, our vision and our values, and the refresh and that very kind of future focus, and have settled on the concept of self-belief as being so key to the success of girls who go on from QM, and really something that, with a combination of ingredients within the QM environment and the support they get, we really are instilling strong self-belief in girls. And we kind of believe that we grow that self-belief in the girls so that they thrive. From your perspective, what does that mean to you? And how do you see it coming to life in QM?
So, I think self-belief in itself is a very powerful concept. I was listening to a podcast the other day when the amazing, recently retired Yorkshire Olympian Alistair Brownlee was talking about his book, and he had been speaking to lots of sports stars. And Michael Owen had talked about the difference between self-confidence and self-belief. And you might be feeling high with self-confidence if you've scored a few goals in the last few games, but self-confidence is transient. Whereas self-belief is sort of enduring and underpins that. And then I started thinking about my own school days and how your self-confidence would ebb and flow as your name fell off the team sheet, or you dropped a grade, or someone was mean. Whereas, that self-belief would kind of keep you going, almost like the pilot light of a boiler, It's just always there all the time, and it just needs nurturing so it can kind of burst into flame.
And when you look back on your experience at school, which you've just referred to, how do you think it set you up? What do you recognise now as you look back on that that's been so key to your choices and experiences later in life?
I think, honestly, I probably lacked self-belief when I came. I'd come from a state school. I got my common entrance, I think, 34% in maths, and I felt very much bottom of the class. But through gradually being encouraged and also praised for effort rather than achievement, I kind of rose to my natural level. And then I guess I became a straight A student. But I needed the teachers to instill that confidence in me through patience and through inspiration and through kindness sometimes. And I think QM is a community, and I came here and I felt like I belonged in lots of different ways. And that gives you, I suppose, the grounding to go off and explore things and discover. And I tried and failed at many things, trombone, saxophone, many instruments. I think I was asked not to do art GCSE because I was so poor at it. But I found the things that I was good at and the things I loved, and often they're the same thing. And when you find those things, that really does help you to believe in yourself and then to go on and pursue those things to sort of higher levels. And it was the right environment for me because there was a long runway to that. And it gave me the time to do that. And also being surrounded by, we didn't talk about this that much, but my friendships, the friendships you form in a boarding school, they're like family. I really feel like the friends I made at QM, a few of them in particular, if I were to have some kind of breakdown, they could piece me back together again. They know the very essence of my soul because we were together through, the best and the worst of times, as happens through your teenage years. And they're the people I am my most comfortable with. We would pull on our long skirts in sixth form over our pajamas and go down to chapel or wherever we were going. There was just that incredible camaraderie. We all had each other's backs. And all of that is as important as what's happening in the classroom. Because if everybody's reflecting the best version of yourself back to you, you start to sort of see that in the mirror eventually.
And that's the power of the boarding, with the value added of boarding alongside everything, as you said, that goes on in the classroom on the academic and enrichment side, absolutely. And I think those friendships, absolutely, between, in a boarding school, a particular close, in an all-girls school as well, there's something really, really special and tight about that.
Well, 4 of us are going on holiday with our families next summer. We can't get enough of it. So I don't know what our other halves are going to do, but we'll have a great time.
Live strong. Yeah. So if you were looking back on your 13-year-old self or 15-year-old self, what would you say to yourself then, from what you've learned now?
Crikey. Believe in yourself. Don't pursue perfection. It's a total mirage. And enjoy the ride. I think I worried way too much And I would also tell myself that if you can't see how you scale a mountain, it doesn't mean you can't do it. Just because you can't see the path up right now. Yeah.
Very good advice. So step by step, climbing up the mountain. And when you now that you're back at QM on a fairly regular basis, having had presumably a period of time in between where you had a gap from a break
20 years,
20 years,
gap,
and then set foot back in the school with, did the memories come flooding back at that point?
It was a very sort of visceral reaction as I drove through Crocky Hill and then up through Escrick and remembered it was like going down memory lane. And actually the community thing, which keeps coming back, I remember I used to go and have tea every week with an old lady in the village. And I loved that. And I think QM was and continues to be part of the community.
The memories, there's a lot that binds generations, but obviously schools have moved forward in recent years and needed to, and rightly so. What do you see as the biggest differences in the school between QM when you were here and QM now?
I guess it's nice to see that QM has moved with the times because it's a long time ago that I was here. But I think the fundamentals remain. I think, as soon as I walked back into the building after 20 years, I felt that same warmth. It's like a sort of central heating system, the warmth of the community, the welcome. Everyone, as you chat to the girls, you meet the staff. I think that warmth has remained, yeah.
And I'm going to wrap up with a question that I started to ask as a kind of routine part of the QM podcast. Desert Island Discs, which is one of my favourites.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if you've had a chance to think about this, but I'm not going to take you through all the tracks. But if you were to pick one track, what would it be?
I did think about this. I thought it might be coming. And it's such a stinker of a question. I think I would pick, because it's thematically on point, Don't Stop Believing by Jennie, because it would also be the kind of song that all my QM friends would get on the dance floor to.
Perfect. And Don't Stop Believing. It's like that concept of belief and keep going and don't doubt yourself. So thank you very much, Jennie. It's been lovely to chat to you.